Welcome to another section of our video, guys. We've started with HTML, how to write code and write HTML code, building websites with HTML as our markup language. Now, there are other topics that's important in HTML, but for now we've not touched them yet, like tables, like forms. Or I'm going to touch them later on, or not in this section of the course. We'll go to CSS in this video. CSS means cascading style sheets, so something like this. So CSS as cascading style sheets. CSS is the technology, the language that is used to beautify our website. Because HTML only, you have a boring website, basic, but it doesn't look great. So I copy parts and I go to my browser to run this. We just have this. See CSS like HTML like a building. Now let's say you are trying to building, let's say that building a road construction or pedestrian bridge. Those pillars and so on, they're like the HTML. They don't look good until they start tying the road construction, if it's an house, until they start painting it, adding different colors and so on to make it attractive. That what CSS does to websites. Add that attractiveness that your website needs. So to be able to achieve, let's say, this kind of design, Learn okay, my spelling is wrong here. So we have this. To be able to achieve this kind of design, HTML only can't give you this. So that's where CSS comes in. The color, some of the layout, the different effects on over and so on, the background images, CSS that adds that to it. So in this video, I'm going to start with CSS basic. Understand how to write CSS classes, ID, and so on. So let's get right into it. I'll come back to this tab. We have three ways of writing CSS. We have internal CSS. Let me start with inline. We have inline CSS, internal CSS, and external CSS. So we call this a comment. In case you didn't get that in HTML, comments are like writings or codes that you don't want to run at that moment, or you don't want the computer to run. So whatever I'm writing this place, this CSS cascading style sheet, you can see it's not appearing on the browser because I commented it. So it's a comment, and every technology has different way of comments them. So we use it for explanation, for debugging purposes, and so on. So yeah, we have inline CSS, we have internal CSS, and we have external CSS. So this is what we'll be focusing in this video. So look at hello world now. I want to style hello world using inline CSS. All of this I'll come here because inline CSS is the CSS you write in the line of your HTML code. So you write it in that same line where your HTML code is. So this is my HTML code, which is H2. Then I'm writing my inline CSS there. I can say I'm doing the background. That's the property. I want to adjust the background. So property here is background color, the value, what type of background color I want to add to it. So I can just write background color, or I can write background, as long as I write a color code or a particular here to understand I'm working with a background color. So I want to say black, then I put my semicolon. You save, Ctrl S if your VS Code or your editor is not on autosave. Go back, you refresh. Can you see that's a black background? But the text is black too, so it's not displaying on the black background. Let's adjust that. So I'll come back here and say color white. Then fresh, we have hello world. Can you see that? That's inline CSS. So we are styling this the HTML tag, HTML elements there using inline CSS in the line. That's the CSS in the line of our HTML code. But this is not optimal. It's not the best method to use, because imagine you have 1,000 lines of code. Will you continue to write each on the same line, especially when you need 5 elements to have the same design? You now have to write on each 5 the same designs that you want them to have. Or if you want to make a correction, you now start go to all lines. So these are different reasons why inline CSS is not scalable and it's not optimal. So now let's try internal CSS. Internal CSS, let me write H3 here. We have this H3. Now to style this, all I need to do when it comes to internal CSS is the CSS right still in your HTML file though, but not in the line of your HTML code. So to write internal CSS, you can write it at the beginning part in your body. So when you open your body, the beginning part, you can write your style there. Some write it in the head too, it works also. So we have this style. You open the style tag. So since you're writing between the style tag is CSS, so I will just call it. Yeah, we need to call it, because now we are not writing it directly in the HTML. So we need to call the particular element we are trying to style. So we call by, in this scenario, I'm using a tag selector. We call it selector. Selector are what you use to select a particular element or HTML tag to style. So I'm using a tag selector. It means I'm using the name of that tag to select it. So then I use my curly braces, the keyboard curly braces. So we have this. Then I can say I want to give it a background color of, let's say, orange. I'll say orange red with a color white. And for those that don't know, if you see my spelling there, you might be like, is this supposed to be the spelling? It is correct, right? Because coding, when it comes to programming, we use the American English, not British English. So it's color, COLOR, so COLOUR. Okay. Then I can say I want the text in the center, text align center, semicolon, and let's run it. Then we have this. So we have this. I can even increase the size. I can do many things. I can say font size. Font size is the size of the font. We call it text font. So I can say I'm using 30 pixel. Now see the advantage of internal CSS. If I duplicate this H3 now, or if I duplicate this, can be any data that I write there. If I come here to run it, can see it's taking the same design because it is internal CSS. Because I already called it. Here, so I called it H3. It means all H3 take this particular design. So if I now decide I want to change my mind, I'm not using 30 again, I want to use 20. I don't need to start changing individual H3 here. I just need to change it here where I declare them, and I'll have the effect. So I will pause this. I'll stop this video here so it doesn't become too long. Then we'll continue in the next video. Thank you very much. See you in the next video.